Is it this one? Okay, I recognize that we're just at the end of a break, but I think for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you for joining this morning, the Unlocking the Future of Vehicle Services. This has always been my pet session. I think that this is one of the most important sessions of the event, and hopefully we'll have more people come in and take advantage of this good content. I just think that vehicle data is great and it's necessary and it's an enabler, but vehicle services is the future, and unlocking the future of vehicle services is so important. So looking forward to this content. We have three speakers. Niclas Gyllenram, he's the CEO of Aiden Automotive Technologies, is coming in virtually. Thank you, Niclas, for getting up so early on the west coast of the U.S. And then we'll have Richard Saady, who's the Senior Manager of Vehicle and Systems Product Leadership at Ricardo, a new COVESA member as of just a couple months ago, so welcome. And then we'll have Dirk Slama, Vice President of Co-Innovation in IT and IoT Alliances from Bosch, and we'll do that in that order. So what we'll do here is we'll have presentations from each of the three, and then we'll have questions and answers after that time. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Niclas, and thank you, Niclas. Hold on just a second. We're not sure that we're hearing you. How are we doing there, Mike? Yeah, so Mark, do you have the deck? Or? Yeah, it's on here. And I have it up, so is he seeing it?
I am not seeing it, no.
Okay. Give us a second. Okay. Do you see it now?
Nope.
He's not seeing it. Okay. What is your suggestion? Should we let him present locally, or can he do that? We have it up on two computers here, but you're not seeing either one of them.
No, I only see the text SP2.
SP2.
Whatever that means.
Should I? And then
would it work if I run the deck from here and share it, or then maybe it wouldn't show up on the screens right on your end? I don't know. Now I see something.
Do you see it now, Niclas?
Oh, I'm watching a camera feed, it seems. Great.
You're seeing yourself, but not the slide deck?
I'm seeing a camera feed showing a screen where I see a perfect store. I see half of the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This might work. I can almost see it.
Mark, can we move that to point at the screen? Okay. All right. So the presentation's up. I'm the only one that controls it. Okay. Just let me know, Niclas, when you want to go to the next slide. Okay.
Okay. All right. But then let's get going. So thank you very much for letting me join. I'm very happy to be able to have this presentation. I wish I could have joined in person in Leipzig, of course, but this is as good as it gets right now. Please go to the next slide. So no, I actually don't see the screen here, but we'll try anyway. The topics that I'm going to cover here, I'm going to start with introducing myself a bit, and then I'm going to describe what I think is actually a perfect storm brewing, and I'll explain why I chose this title, and at least some of the things that I believe lies ahead of us. Automotive can be a very conservative, slow, and sometimes even mind-numbingly frustrating industry to work in. But one thing is really certain, and that is it will not be boring, and it hasn't been boring. I just feel that it's getting even more interesting every year. I guess that's another way to describe that. I don't really see that the challenges that we're facing are decreasing. To the contrary. And lastly, I will talk about COVESA's role, how I believe it has a huge, important role to play in solving some of these challenges that the whole industry is facing, really. Please go to the next slide. So I'm Niclas Gyllenram, and my background is mainly in automotive and software development. I've previously worked as a tier one supplier for Mitsubishi Electric, building infotainment systems, and I've been at Ericsson building vehicle cloud solutions. And 7 years ago, I was recruited to Volvo Cars to build up Volvo's first internal software development teams. I was then made head of next generation infotainment system development. And in that role, I started and led Volvo's partnership with Google, building the world's first standard automotive systems that launched in 2020. As Steve mentioned, I'm currently leading a company called Aiden. I've been working with that for the last 18 months. And at Aiden, we're building a privacy-focused communication platform for vehicles, aiming to, I believe, for the first time, truly connect cars with the rest of the world. And you can find more information about what we're doing at Aiden on these links, and please feel free to reach out. And that's enough of the sales pitch. So let's continue to the topic at hand. So why a perfect storm? Well, from the OEM's point of view, I think there's a lot of different things happening at the same time. Cars are becoming autonomous, electrical. There's new business models. There's new brands. And this is actually why I'm really curious about what will happen over the coming years. I've felt this way for the last decade, really, that the industry is shifting and it's only going faster every year, actually. So if you push forward once, I hope it says something about software now. I can't see the screen. But one change that the industry is experiencing is the move to software-defined vehicles. Customers care about other things than they used to. And it's becoming more and more important with software in the cars. I think it's actually similar to what you saw with other devices like phones 15, 20 years ago, where it used to be a hardware problem and it turned out to become more of a software issue. And phones are really mobile devices on which you run software. That's really what they are. And software development is not necessarily what at least the old traditional OEMs are excelling at, or maybe best equipped. And this is fundamentally different from what OEMs are used to in terms of industrialization. And when it comes to electric vehicles, battery management is very much a software problem. So at its core, to succeed with electrification, OEMs need to get better at one of their, I believe, key weaknesses, which is software development. If you click forward, and by the way, I need to ask Steve, how are we on time? How much time do I have?
Yeah, we can speed along just a little bit. Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay, let me know if I'm running out of time.
Fine.
Thank you. So now I actually don't see the slides anymore. Now okay, back. Another thing that is changing is the demand from markets, where we see a much larger demand for electric vehicles. It's both from customers and from environmental push. It's becoming a necessity, really, from a branding point of view. But at the same time, you've also got political push and legislation push, where even some cities are banning the use of combustion engines. So, and also you see consumers are increasingly fond of electric vehicles. I mean, let's face it, they're great fun to drive. Acceleration is instant and the torque is huge. And everyday usage is just great with electric vehicles. I never have to go to the gas station to fill up with gas for everyday usage. So demand for EVs is increasing as well. Then if you click next, automotive industry is a very fragmented industry. There's hundreds of different of OEMs. There's no clear, real dominant player. It's not like the phone industry where there's just a couple. You've got companies like Apple or Samsung and the likes. In the automotive industry, even the largest car companies are actually less than 10% of the global market. So it's very difficult for any one OEM to kind of push any kind of standardization by themselves. And click next. And then another shift is the shift in ownership and usage models, where the way you own a car and the way you use cars is changing. We see a lot of companies trying out different subscription models where people actually don't own their cars, they just subscribe to them. Of course, you've got ride sharing and ride hailing, which of course also significantly is impacting the overall situation for the OEMs. And if you click one more time, also sales models are changing. A lot of OEMs are trying to go more to direct to consumer sales, selling cars online, which of course also is changing the complete landscape, not only for the OEMs, but also for their dealers who are trying to figure out what their position in this new landscape will be.
Excuse me, Niclas?
Yep.
So we have two other presenters, and we want to leave a little time for Q&A. So
speed up.
Yeah, please.
Good. Awesome. Click next. Fundamentally, OEMs want to take a greater part of this growing new value chain. And click next. That basically means that OEMs right now, in general, are building proprietary solutions for EV and for anything. Actually, they're used to owning everything, and they're used to controlling everything, and that's what every OEM still is doing in currently. Please click next, and let's actually just hit forward a couple of times. This is the point of view from the infrastructure point of view for electrification, where you see basically also a very difficult situation with power production and grids already very strained the way it is currently. I mean, we're struggling to produce enough power as it is, and I understand that in terms of charging infrastructure, I saw a recent study saying that we needed 65 million additional charging stations in Europe alone, and at the current rate of build out, that's going to take 3 to 4 decades before we actually reach that number. And the infrastructure inside of electrification is also a very fragmented industry with many different players, basically very different scenarios in every country. And also here you see infrastructure wanting to take greater piece of this new and growing value chain. And same thing here, the consequence is that they're building proprietary solutions. And the problem, of course, is the pieces don't fit. We're building different Legos, and it's not really connecting at all. Let's go to the next slide. So what's needed? Well, we've got hundreds of different OEMs building hundreds of different types of cars that needs to connect with thousands of different service providers in different markets, North America, Europe, China, Japan, Korea, and so on. And that, of course, is a huge challenge in getting anything in place that actually works. And fundamentally, data must be communicated between vehicles and services, not only when you're charging, but maybe more importantly, when you're not charging, so that you can figure out where to charge, when to charge, what the cost will be, how you can pay for it, who should pay, and all of that needs to be addressed. Click next, thank you. So what we need is collaboration. We need a collaborative and open and partnership focused approach, so that, which is, I think, the complete opposite of what is being done currently to a large extent with all these proprietary solutions. And if you click next, we need to shift the focus to building ecosystems instead of monopolies. And an ecosystem is really defined by being a system where all the necessary players can thrive and live in a balance, just like the balance between predators and prey, or animals and plants. If there's too many predators, there will be too little prey, and in the end, everyone will starve. We need to focus on building business models and technologies that focus on and emphasize the need to grow partnerships. If we're building technologies or business models based only on if you're building something based only on you yourself using it, or you owning the entire market, I would argue that you're very likely beating a dead horse and unlikely to succeed. We need to change the focus into growing the pie instead of just trying to get as large a slice of the pie as possible, because owning 100% of nothing actually still isn't very much. And if you go to the next slide. So what's COVESA's role in this? I was part of COVESA's previous incarnation as Genevi, where we tried to build a common in-vehicle infotainment platform. And I think most people would agree that we didn't really succeed at that. Solving this problem, I think, is orders of magnitude more difficult, but I'm actually much more optimistic this time around. I think COVESA has started to become a very natural center for where all these different parties that needs to start collaborating, where we can connect across industries, across companies, and as opposed to the IVI problem, where anyone actually could just go ahead and build their own solutions, and that's basically what happened. Here, the actual problem is to actually connect with other companies. And I think COVESA is increasingly taking this role and becoming that entity. And I would argue that COVESA can support actual projects where we bring together all the entities, from OEMs to cities to infrastructure, and actually start to build things. I think COVESA can play a role basically at the center of this web, seeding and advising its members. And I'm imagining that COVESA will tell its members that, hey, you should talk to this person over at Ford, and you should talk to this person over at BMW or Harman, and here's the guys from the city of Pittsburgh, and now here's a proposal for what you should do. That's what I mean when I say that you can basically define and market, seed, and even incubate. And I actually would like to suggest a call for action that we start trying to, as COVESA and as members of COVESA, really build products over specifications, even though standards and specifications are great. It's a slow way to push change, and I think we actually have an opportunity here to get together and define cross-industry collaborations to actually build products. There's no one entity that is likely to solve these challenges with electric vehicles and how they connect with society by themselves. And I see COVESA as likely the most natural central entity to actually gather all these players.
I apologize. We're going to have to call time on your presentation. Yeah, and we're gonna invite Richard up now, and let me get his presentation up. Thank you, Niclas, for that presentation.
Understandable and made sense.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get this up and going. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Richard Saady. I'm working for Ricardo. I'm working in the connected automated vehicle team based in Cambridge in the UK. My background's in electronics and software. So today I'm going to talk briefly about what we're doing in digital services, particularly focusing on one use case, which is what we're calling geofencing, which I'll explain what it is, and then link that to sort of opportunities and issues for COVESA. So for those of you who don't know Ricardo, so we're a global engineering services consultancy, about 3,000 people, traditionally focusing on the sort of automotive core type activities, but in the last 10 years adding energy and environmental consultancy. So what we've been doing in our digital services team is taking that core expertise, if you like, and trying to link that together with digital engineering, data science, and build digital services, connected car services for our customers. So there's some examples here. One is a connected battery management system, so for fleet management of batteries and their faults. Another one is for transmissions, fleet transmissions. This is actually for wind turbines. And another one is for the electronic horizon for hybrid vehicles. But the case that I wanted to talk about today was the what I called optimized geofencing. So if you're familiar with ultra-low emission zones, so for instance in London we have the congestion zone, where depending on your vehicle's emissions category you pay a rate to enter that zone. So it's around that idea that we've been working with the city of Brighton to develop a optimized geofencing service. So it's a kind of dynamic geofencing. So it's for hybrid vehicles, and we've done trials on buses and taxis. And basically, you want to optimize so that in your city area, you use as much EV mode, electric vehicle mode, as you can to try and reduce or improve the air quality. So how have we been doing that? So it's a connected car app, so a dongle and a mobile phone, and on the buses it's a slightly different arrangement, and then sending data to the cloud, and then using traffic simulation and also using Ricardo's rapid air dispersal software modeling, then we can dynamically change those zones, if you like, to optimise for traffic conditions, for routing, for the state of charge on the vehicle and so on. And you can see here that the results have been been pretty good for that urban air quality. So what we'd like to do is roll out this kind of service right away to as many cities as wants to set up that kind of service. But it's no simple thing to do that. We have to and now I have 2 mics. Great. So how to get there, right? So in the past, we've been very much focusing on the physical value stream, building the best physical car. And I think everybody now understands this is about turning this head side up and looking at managing the digital value stream. And that really means a lot of ideas, a lot of exploration, because we simply don't know yet which of these ideas that we have actually really will fly and will pay off and will eventually be successfully monetized. And I think the opportunity for COVESA really is in helping to put in the layer in between here that helps with kind of like a divide and conquer approach to help us be successful in both of these worlds, and in particular in the software world up here, enable rapid exploration against all of these standardized interfaces that we are building. I think it's really important that we understand where the sweet spot for this is. So when we look at this from 2 dimensions, one is actually the integration level with the vehicle. The first one I would call no real integration. Second one, sensors or read-only. And the third one, actuators or actually impact on the physics of the car. And matching this with the traditional ASIL versus only TM. And I mean, I put an Angry Bird thing here, right? Because everybody can run Angry Bird on a car. It does not require any integration. Yeah? So it's still cool. I mean, yeah, I have Angry Birds running on my car, but for this we don't need COVESA, right? Okay. New kid on the block, pardon me, where's your job, right? But I would say the sweet spot, and you can't unfortunately see this here, but it's kind of like a green zone here that goes, okay, I mean, everything that's quality managed software, maybe with a bit of ASIL A and ASIL B, it depends on the use cases we're talking about, yeah? So and one of the use cases we'll talk about later on today, we've looked at like the next version of Happy Dog, right? So you have a camera on your car, you use the AI to do mood detection. When you go shopping, is your dog going berserk in the car? And if so, you remotely interact with the dog in the car, and you might lower the windows for centimeters. So what does this mean? Where are we here with this type of use case? And this is something I think we need to explore, and this is what we wanted to propose to COVESA and the community with this digital auto project. So later on today, I think at 1:45 in the second digital auto session, we will do a live demo of a system that we have developed that helps us to basically take the COVESA standards, at the moment mainly focusing on VSS, and then in the browser rapidly develop new applications, try this out, run it, see which APIs we're using, see how they're performing, be able to use this to actually engage with your friendly customers, see if they like it, if they really want a happy dog, or if they actually need a happy cat type of app, right? We don't know. So this is basically what we wanted to contribute and discuss with you to really help moving this connected services topic forward. And with this I will stop, and maybe we have 30 seconds for a discussion between the three of us now. So I don't have any questions, but I'm sure you do, and so I want to maximize the audience interaction. So please, what questions do you have for Niclas, Richard, or Dirk about unlocking the future of services? Yes, please. We haven't done it right, so we can pass it around.
So my question is for Dirk, but then also I have kind of a larger ecosystem question as well, so I would like Richard and the other gentlemen to weigh in as well. So Dirk, in your quick presentation, you mentioned emotion detection. There's a number of software vendors, smaller players, that are doing similar activities. So how are you engaging from a collaborative approach, partnership approach, which was mentioned by the first gentleman? Are you engaging to bring this ecosystem of activities into the digital auto project itself?
Right. Well, I think there's a technical and a business answer to this, right? I think on the technical side of things, it's very much about enabling people to bring their apps to the car without them having to bring their own hardware. Yeah, I think that's one big step. And there I would differentiate between somebody you as an OEM might want to have as a partner because, let's say, he's big enough so that you can sue them if it goes wrong, versus two bright guys with an idea that, if it goes wrong, you can't sue. So they might need a little bit more secure sandboxes on your cars in the future. So this is one part of the answer, and then the other part of the answer is a pure business discussion, I would say. So if you take, maybe not this example, but let's take user-based insurance, right? So do you want to own it? Do you want Alliance or Zurich to own this? Or do you want to share this? But for this, you need a technical solution so that they don't have to add dongles to the car to do UBI. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, that's exactly. I was curious. Okay. Yeah. And then my follow-up question is really looking at Richard. How did you collaborate with like Dirk? Because you guys presented similar ideas and thoughts around digital services. So is there an opportunity for collaboration between the work that Dirk is doing and what you propose from a digital capabilities perspective?
Yeah, so yes, I think there is opportunities for collaboration. I guess our focus is more as like a third-party service provider, so we're creating a service. So, I want Dirk to hurry up and give me the platform, the ecosystem. It's been a few years. um, because I think it's like that ecosystem, so the geofencing, thank you. So the geofencing app, I mean, that's probably not something that the OEMs are going to come up with as a service. So, if we get the ecosystem in place and let people innovate, come up with services, like on a mobile phone, when Apple and Google created the platforms, they didn't imagine that, we'd have like 5,000 apps now in the App Store. Now, I know the car's not a, not a mobile phone, but there is an analogy. Yeah. Yeah, so, we just want to, from Ricardo's point of view, we have that expertise in the sort of core knowledge of the energy and environment and automotive, and we want to innovate services. So we're in COVESA to try and help facilitate that. Yeah. Is it Niclas? Do you want to? Yeah, I'm just thinking Niclas is on the back end of the...
Niclas, do you have any comments on that last question if you heard it? No, I guess not. Go ahead. Just from a curiosity standpoint, have you looked at containerizing these applications so that they don't have to fight with each other, create other problems? Because we know that the containerized applications, we can develop them in the cloud, take them directly to the vehicle, and they have minimal impact on each other. Any thoughts around that? I would argue the magic formula is containerization plus API management. Right, because what we're looking at doing when River is absolutely being able to deliver containerized applications to the vehicles and provide that continual development environment. So it's interesting. I was curious of your approach here. And if you want to see rapid prototyping, I think for this live, join us today at, I'm just checking the time, it's at 2:15, Digital Auto live demo. Hi, Niclas. Hi. Niclas, and assuming that you have this platform where the app can start developing the app, who's going to manage this ecosystem? Because in the smartphone world, you have like Play Store or App Store, where the app will Google the app and allow that to be published. Who is going to do that? It depends. As you know, it strongly depends. I would argue there will be different types of apps with different access rights and different API levels. Right? So I would argue that a little bit further down the road, the Angry Bird type of applications, easy. The Happy Dog application that we saw needing access to the camera, maybe something we can open up. When it comes to an app opening the windows in the car, tricky. Yeah? So this is why you need the API management in addition to the containerization, right? So you need on technical level, you need control who can actually deploy in the containers and which container instance can actually access which APIs and which API levels. And then at the end of the day, I would assume that this whole mechanism will be provided by the OEM or the platform operator. And again, this will also depend a little bit, I'm assuming, between, let's say, traditional OEMs and personal vehicles, for example, trucks, where it's a different game because you have the fleet operators in it. So it's not a black and white answer, I would argue. I don't know if you have a different view on this. Okay, maybe one last question. Anybody? Something sort of related to that. So similar to who's running the applications in the ecosystem, the user credentials around who can access that data and which third-party applications can access that data. Obviously, if we have this ecosystem where all this data is available, who do you think will be the party that controls those users and who can see what? It's a question where you can't really win when you give an answer. I mean, I don't know if you were in yesterday when we had this. I thought it was actually for me a highlight of the presentation so far. After the opening panel, we had the gentleman from Google coming up, asking, when the OEMs would open up, and then I think it was mentioning like, sure, so when can we have access to the Google engine, right? So, yeah, it depends on where you store the data. There are storage mechanisms that you can deploy. You can make it store, you can make it file, you can put it in the cloud on the device, depending on where it is, and then what access you grant to the data, and make, that's the question, right? I mean, not everybody just gets it automatically. You have to grant permission to it. Okay, unfortunately we're out of time. This is a discussion that should continue over lunch. So find each other and sit at the same table and continue the discussion. Apologies for going late. Thank you, Niclas. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Dirk. And we're going to transition to the next session here. So thank you.